a brutal cheating story of monstrous proportions. Wife of 7 years has an affair with a deranged sociopath. The perversion of her affair tumbles OP into filing for divorce. Stick till the end to end up with a strangely tickled funny bone. Smash the like button so hard, Google can't find it. Warning. The following story will be upsetting to cheaters.
I'm a 32-year-old male, and my wife is a 28-year-old female. I've been with my wife, Kelly, for 7 years. At first, it was great. She was my soulmate, and I was hers. We had similar interests in sports, entertainment, social issues, more on that later, holiday destinations, etc. We were happy for years. However, things started to change when my wife was becoming more distant, even slightly colder. Now let me give you some insight. We have been together for 7 years. For 5 years, it was as I said, happy. I felt I was her world, and she was mine. We went out with friends, and I see her always smiling at me at random moments. She would take care of me when I was sick, as I did for her. She would back me whenever needed. She was my rock, my best friend, my one and only. We would do many things together like hiking, camping, wildlife resorts, share interests, go to watch the football, etc. We had a passion for each other. I never wanted her to change. When I first met her, she was beautiful. Brunette, curly hair, stunning smile, and her character was so nice. She always implied the same with me. She made me feel special. Not once did I feel inadequate or insecure about myself. More on that later. As I said, for over 5 years it was great, but things started to change when her new supervisor started at her place of work. I'm calling him Mike, a 30-year-old guy. Now at first, she would come home and lightly talk about this new supervisor. She would say that he's funny and makes people feel good. Of course, I was slightly taken aback at first because she would usually come home and ask about my day and then go on about hers. But she immediately talked about Mike straight away. However, at the time, I brushed it off as someone who was new at her work. She sees the same faces for years. So when Mike showed up, it was refreshing. Weeks pass, and my wife seems to be more distant and secretive. She would go out to work nights, which didn't bother me as she went on plenty before. However, we were meant to go out to a mutual friend's house for drinks. He is in a bad situation, and he has been diagnosed with a disease that is severe. My wife, as I said, is usually a rock, really empathetic and supportive. So when we found out about our friend, Dennis, we didn't hesitate to make plans to visit soon and show our support. We were planning to go one night, and I was waiting at home for my wife to meet me so we could go to Dennis together. I assumed she was running late from work as they would have a drink amongst colleagues to end the work week. I called her a few times and got no answer. I texted her. No answer. After waiting, I decided to go to Dennis's myself. Dennis and I talked about how he's adapting and coping. During that time, I felt for Dennis. Such a nice guy, while the world deals him the cruelest cards. Afterwards, I got home and both seething and worried. Kelly is still not home. No missed calls or text. Seriously? I couldn't believe it. I was getting worried as I imagined her being in an accident, so I called her work colleague, Janice. I got on with Janice and asked her if Kelly is still out with her. Janice said that she is, but Janice went home, and when she did, she left Kelly and Mike alone. I was annoyed and angry. So angry, I couldn't rationalize it. We have known Dennis for years, and she would skip me and our sick friend over a guy she just met. I kept telling myself there was an explanation for this, as this wasn't anything like Kelly. I waited until she got home. Eventually, she arrived home and spotted me waiting in the living room chair, looking at her. She said,
"What's wrong? Everything okay?"
I looked her in bemusement and said, "Dennis." She looked mortified, and her eyes popped up like a Walt Disney character. She said,
"I'm sorry. I forgot. I was out with work friends and lost track of time."
She looked sincere. She and Dennis are close friends, so maybe she did forget. I did feel the need to ask her a question, so I did. "Who was out with you?" She replied, as usual. "Janice, Sophie, and the other colleagues I know." I replied, "Not Mike."
"Oh yes, he was there too."
I pressed on, remembering what Janice said. "Did everyone stay out until the end?" She replied,
"Yeah, it was a good night."
She continues settling by taking off her jewelry, and I take it in. From that point on till the next day, I am pissed. It eats at me the whole night and following day. I don't say anything to her, but she has never lied to me before. She has never let anyone down before. I couldn't grasp that she would bail on our sick friend for a guy she just met. As I was fully aware of being annoyed the following days, I noticed a big change in her. Kelly was becoming more distant. She would come home later and not be affectionate towards me. I still put this down to workload maybe, but when she got home, she would be on her phone constantly. I asked her who she's talking to and jokingly mentioned that she's always texting.
"Just a friend from work,"
she said. I followed up by asking her, "Is it Mike?" She jumpy answers,
"No, but what's the problem if it is?"
I never saw my wife get defensive like this, but I was going to be honest. I replied, "Because you never stop yapping about him. He's been working with you for under a month, and you seem to idolize him. Your face sparkles when you talk about him. So much so, you even forgot about our deteriorating friend Dennis." I could tell I hit the spot. Bullseye. She replied,
"No, I do not idolize Mike. He's nice, but just a friend. And I apologize to Dennis already."
I took it in again, but this time it wasn't enough for me to mule over. I waited until she was asleep and checked her phone, and surprise, it was full of questionable messages between them, never meant for my eyes. I took photos of the conversation for later. A week has passed, and it's still continuing. The late nights and the lack of affection. I spoke to a friend about my concerns, and he suggested that I could be going paranoid, as he knew Kelly. He mentions I should try to do something new, like make her a surprise dinner. I really like that idea. So I texted my wife and asked her if she's busy after work. She replies that she's free for the night, so I suggested to make her a dinner, which she seemed to like. I got a particular bottle of wine she loves, bought specific flowers that would warm her heart, and made sure there were no small chores left for the night. She got home, and first thing I see, she looks sad when our eyes meet. She said she's really sorry, but a friend from work is organizing a surprise birthday party for a colleague, and that night is the only night they are able to do it. I shook my head in frustration, but that's all I could do. She literally left right after and dropped another sorry before driving off. Didn't change or even refreshed herself. This was it. After months of suspicion, I needed proof. I know you must hear this and think to yourselves, can you not see the signs, not even after the texts? I could, but I was still hoping, in denial. Hoping that I'm wrong. Hoping that it was a bad dream. Truth is, I was scared to find out. But I had to. I needed proof and see it in front of my eyes. So, I'm not proud of what I did next, but try to bear with me. I put a tracker in her car. I pretended to be at work late, so she didn't see me when she got home. She did arrive at our place. I watched from a distance, and she set off again in her car. I followed her as she went further out of town. She eventually pulled into a car park that was secluded in the corner. She was waiting until another car pulled up next to her. It was him, Mike. She got out and got into his car. It was obvious what they were doing. I recorded her getting into his car for future evidence against her. For the next few days, she acted like everything was fine. I mean, I know that she doesn't realize I know, but she was acting like normal. Smiling towards me, even holding my hand at breakfast, gently massaging my hand. I have to admit, it almost ignited a rampage within me, but I held it in. She left to go to work, and I had a day off. So decided to snoop in our shared laptop to see if there's anything suspicious I might find. I won't keep the tension up for long. There was nothing, but when I was looking through her drawers, I know, not my proudest moment either, I saw an iPad under her bottom drawer. It wasn't mine, so I assumed my wife bought it. Strange. Luckily for me, it didn't need a password. I don't know if she forgot to lock it, or it was so new she didn't have the time to set a password, but I got lucky, I guess. So I got in and looked around. Now this is where the damage really hurts. I looked at the iPad and checked to find text conversations, but found nothing. However, what I was about to see, I will never ever forget. There was a folder of pictures of my wife, the worst kind of pictures. The ones that were never meant for the daylight, and unfortunately for me, they were definitely not meant for me. The postures, the placements, the position. There were so many, but there was more. As I scrolled, I saw some of them had the play icon. Videos. There were videos. I know I shouldn't have looked at them, but it was like my mind was numb and I just automatically clicked on all of them. I watched them all and they horrified me to my core. Mike is on them, with my wife, and she's enjoying it. But that is not all. My wife, with another woman and another man, with Mike there. But the other man was someone who really made me sick. I know him as a huge bigot. He had vile tattoos of certain groups who are known to have no morals. Like I said, a vile human being. It seemed that Mike agreed with his extremist views, which was fitting. I couldn't believe it. My wife, being with a man, choosing men like that over her own husband. This was a woman who detested any form of bigotry, as did I. So why would she do this? What did she see in him? It was seeing her being fully complicit that really got to me. During our marriage, we always talked about fantasies, but never acted on them. For me, as your typical man, it was adding another woman for one time, and other more vanilla things. But my wife said she would never do it, never with another woman, or do anything that makes her feel uncomfortable. I accepted that without a second thought. It didn't bother me that she didn't want to do it. I got over it. I loved her. So to see her doing things that she never did with me hurt really bad. I watched it all. I know, I'm stupid. I'm stupid for not acting on the text. I'm dumber for falling for it all. But it stops now. I copied the videos and pictures to my laptop for evidence of infidelity and her betrayal, because that's all that matters now. I want her gone. I just don't know why she did it. I don't know why she refused me the fantasy route, if you will. What made him so special? Why was she into a man that I thought she despised because of what he represented? I won't linger on that. I just can't name it directly here. Think of the worst thing you could stand for against humanity, and that's it. Anyway, I spoke to Dennis about everything. He is a great man and a better friend. He couldn't believe I was talking about Kelly. He was disgusted with her, but noticed her change as well. I told him that I want to divorce her. He understood. He told me he had my back and that confronting her and him is pointless because she has already made up her mind. He said that I need a fresh start and to find someone who is genuine and not a mirror of the woman I married. Like myself, Dennis hates racism, which added a huge shock factor to hearing Kelly was with those men. I saw he was struggling to accept it was Kelly. Dennis has known my wife a lot longer than me. After speaking to Dennis, it made me feel like I was in control. For months, I felt that she was in control. I was afraid to find out the truth. I didn't confront her more sternly when I was suspicious, because I was afraid of the outcome. At the time, I didn't know if I wanted to leave her or make it work, but I never expected the truth to be so extreme. After the videos, pictures, and texts, I damn well knew what I must do. Not too fast, no emotions, steady and with a plan. The days after I planned to go to a lawyer to file for divorce. I'm getting rid of this parasite. My wife was still acting normal, still on the phone constantly, still going out late, but the diminishing quality of her excuses show her laziness. I assume with him or them, I didn't care. I had to wait 3 weeks for the papers to come through. I got them, which gave me the room to move out. Luckily, we rented and our lease was running out in 3 months. I was prepared to pay until then. Anyway, I needed to move out. So I planned for that day, and that day came fast. We woke up and she went to work. Just before she left, I made up that I had to go in later to cover at the job for being short-staffed. She shrugged and wished me luck. No goodbye, hug, or kiss. Still, that hasn't happened for months, so I was used to it. After she left, I packed up my essentials and put the divorce papers neatly on the kitchen table with my wedding ring on top of it. That was it. I stayed with my friend from university, Tom, who lived in another city. I was grateful, but more grateful that it was far from her, the city, and our same social circle. I wanted nothing to do with any of it. I told my parents about what happened, and they were shocked but fully understood my decision. I obviously didn't tell them every detail. There was no need to let them carry that burden. Thinking back to that moment, I remember all I really thought of was being free. My wife would, I assume, agree, as it was clear that Mike is the one she longs for. I hope that we get a quick and clean divorce. I really do. Later that night, my phone was blowing up with calls and text. It was Kelly. I was surprised because I honestly thought that this was what she wanted as well. But it seems that I couldn't be more wrong. I didn't text nor speak to my wife. I had no interest in it. I read her messages, and all of them consisted of,
"I'm sorry. I love you. Please, can we talk?"
etc. This lasted for hours. I blocked her number and deleted all my social media accounts. I spoke to my lawyer asking about my wife signing the divorce, but she hasn't signed. He instructed me to wait, and he would keep me up to date. She did contact me through email. I wanted to have some way of communication open because I still want the divorce. She sent me an email again, spamming sorry all over the place and that we needed to talk. I replied, no, all I want is the divorce. She replied that she doesn't want to, that I'm the man she loves, and Mike meant nothing. It's funny, really, because I never mentioned to her why I left, but she obviously knows why. Her guilty conscience and seeing her plead for forgiveness was actually satisfying. I spoke to Tom and he said I could stay as long as I wanted. I am thankful for him, but he did say that I would have to meet her eventually. He said that I left without having answers, and no matter how hard I tried, eventually I would need to hear them. Inside, I was disagreeing with Tom. Why should I talk to her? Why? She didn't care for my feelings for months. She didn't care about me. She cares about her sick friend Dennis, but she didn't genuinely care either. So why would I talk to her? I know I'm being stubborn, but I don't care. I'm also angry that my wife is trying to reconcile. I honestly thought she would have signed and moved on with him. Now that my wife wants to meet, I'm thinking about meeting her to get this over with. I have a therapist who is excellent. I talked about the affair, what I saw in detail, all of it. I mentioned that my wife wants to meet up before she signs. My therapist was blunt. She said that when I left without telling her why, deep down I wanted her to plead and her to worry. That I kept telling myself she wouldn't care, but deep down I wanted her to care. That I want her to feel pain, like she did to me. However, meeting her would take some of my control. I knew she was right. She added that if I decide to meet in person, I must ask the difficult questions, even if I don't like the answer. Because I do have questions, and I'm not moving on at all. I'm running away because I'm scared, and the last 7 years of my life was a lie. Like I said, blunt. That was 2 days ago. Kelly keeps asking to meet and is saying that she won't sign without meeting first. I speak to my parents and close friends about it. My dad said it doesn't matter, as I could force the issue of her signing, but that could take months. He adds that if she's willing to sign after the talk, then it's worth it. Tom agreed, and so did I, so I decided to meet my wife. Although, to say I'm nervous is an understatement. How should I approach this? What should I ask her? Should I be open or guarded? Any help and advice would be appreciated.
Well, I'm a big fan of face-to-face conversations. With that in mind, tell her flat out that a condition of meeting her is signing the papers. If she says no, then don't meet and ghost her. Take the long road to divorce without having to see her ever again. If she says yes, then meet her, but allow her the floor to speak. Keep your questions, statements to a minimum, and control your emotions to the point where you display zero emotion, good or bad. If you become emotional, excuse yourself and go collect yourself and get back on mission. Your main mission is to get the papers signed. Remember, you have all the answers you need already. The meeting is for her, not you. She wants forgiveness, abdication, and to walk away with less shame and guilt. She's looking to get out of being held accountable. Yes, that conversation to trade for her signature. Now there's still a chance she won't sign. If she seems reluctant to sign, offer to work on the relationship after the divorce. Make her believe she's still got a chance with you. Yes, it's a lie. Who cares? You want that signature. So lie to get it if need be. After you have her signature, make sure you expose the affair at her workplace. Call HR directly. Listen closely now. She's no longer an ally, wife, friend, or soulmate. She's an adversary and a legal matter. Nothing more, nothing less.
I'm sorry that my update has taken longer than I liked, as I was going to post the following day. Unfortunately, circumstances got in the way. But before I do, I want to thank everyone who posted their feedback. I read every single one, and I took everyone's advice on board. I was overwhelmed, to be honest. I really appreciate it. I also would like to point out some things regarding my previous post. The story has been set from just over a year ago. The last post is a catch-up to present time. So now this update leads up to the present day. As the story is now complete, but I'll type it out in chronological order, marking each update. A lot has happened since I posted. First, I moved back to where I lived, but not what you might think. Living with Tom was great, but I needed to go back eventually as the house is in both our names. Kelly is still living there, so I rented a flat in the outskirts of our town. I told Kelly that I'm coming back to town, and she was happy. However, I told her in no uncertain terms that I wouldn't be living with her. She understood, although she tried the generic "we can sleep in separate rooms" line. No, I'm not going for it. I also stated that I will not tell her where I live, obviously, even though she tried to find out. She still wants to meet me, as do I. We arranged a time and place. The place was a neutral venue, so to speak. It was near the beach, where there are people, but not too many in case a dramatic scene unfolds, which I obviously don't want. I want to meet on my terms, just me and her. I know some of you in the comments said to take a friend, but I felt that it wasn't needed. But still, I appreciate the advice. I do, however, agree that I will definitely be recording the conversation, which I did. Before we met, I emailed Kelly and laid down the ground rules, and if she didn't abide by them, there would be no chance of reconciliation. The rules were simple. 1. Answer every question that I have honestly. 2. No deflection answers like "it just happened" or "I'm not sure," etc. I want detailed answers. 3. If she storms off without answering every question, it's over. Reconciliation. We'll be off the table. 4. Answer, even if she thinks the answer will hurt me. 5. Don't be late. If you are, that's it. We'll do it the hard way. So we agree to the location and the time, and that was that. Now I wait in my flat. The next day I caught up with other friends. They treat me like I'm fragile, as they do with Dennis. Although I get it. I got hugs and support, which I appreciated, but it seems, inevitably, that our breakup has spread. Although I question how they know. I only told a handful of people, but my wife inevitably told her family and friends, and of course the domino effect would happen. However, they obviously didn't know about the full details. They didn't know about the texts, pictures, and videos with the horrific side to it. Not even my wife knows that I have them. She is under the impression I left because she was spending too much time with Mike. She doesn't know about what I know and what I have in possession. All she thinks is time with Mike, and the hubby's ego got upset. And now she broke it off with Mike, I might be willing to start anew, fresh.
Bruh.
I told my therapist about the meeting. She said that I should ask certain questions to give her better insight into what happened. I'll explain that later. Thinking about the day of the meeting. I was nervous before, but honestly, I am broken. Not because I want her back, but it's seeing her, and then seeing her with them, what they did, without just losing it right there. I could lose focus and control to my rage, but I can't. I need to do this right. I drove up to the beach early, really early. I'd taken in the surroundings, and thinking back, it was a perfect day. Sun was out, people were taking their morning stroll. I'm sure I picked a great venue. Then, out of nowhere, I turned to see my wife, Kelly, walking towards me. She was smiling. She looked great, definitely glammed up to the max, although she looked slightly worn out and stressed. No sympathy, though, just an observation. She approached and tried to hug me. I deflected and put my arm out. We're not hugging. She looked at me as in a I understand kind of way. We sat down while she tried to start small talk, but I wasn't interested. I had my phone recording, and we started. When did you first kiss him?
The first week on the Friday.
When did you first sleep with him?
The same day on Friday.
Where?
At his place.
Did you ever do it? In my bed?
Does it matter?
I strictly look at her and asked if she's sure about not answering, so we could end the conversation then and there. She nodded, no, and answers.
Yes, we did.
She starts to tear up. When? She basically said it was a number of times I was out. Our neighbours saw him, but rightly thought he was a work colleague. They thought nothing of it. She apologized again and went on repeating, saying sorry, but I put my hand out for her to stop. I continued with my other questions. Did you tell him about me? About you being married?
Yes, but at the time it was a blur.
Now my therapist asked me to ask her a specific question. This was it. When you first met Mike, how early was it that he talked about me?
What do you mean?
It's simple. When you talked, what did he ask you? About me? Did he want to know how long we were married? If we were happily married? After a pause, she drops it.
Yes, he did ask about our marriage and if we were happy. Why?
Didn't that strike you as odd? You met a guy you hardly know, and he's asking personal questions about our marriage.
No, I think he was just being generally curious. I didn't think of it as being weird.
More of this question's relevance later. After asking a number of small, hidden questions, I decided to go for the big ones. I decided to ask her about the videos and pictures. However, I did it in a nonchalant way. I referenced a racially motivated attack near us at a local store. Of course, if you read the first part of my story, you will know about the extreme views of Mike and his vile friend. So I went soft and twisted it into this. Did you hear about the incident last Thursday?
What incident?
The bigots who attacked the shopkeeper and trashed his store, not before spraying hateful graffiti everywhere. She goes into her empathic side, I recognize, and says,
That's awful.
Yep, it is awful. I can't stand racists, can you? She looked at me with a confused expression. I didn't say anything. Pause. There it is. Her eyes pop up, like Gollum losing the precious ring, into the pits of Mordor. She grasped exactly what I meant. She knew that I know about the pictures and videos. First time I see her crumbling, and now she starts ugly crying. This lasted for about 5 minutes, and I let it sink in. Then I pressed on. I looked disgusted and asked, "Why would you even go near men like that?" I said it. Men, not man, as in plural. She's red-faced from crying. I see her veins pop in ways that are new to me. She's trying to compose herself, trying miserably, and it comes out.
It's not what it looks like, or what you think.
What I think? What am I supposed to think? What was it about these men that would make you disrespect both your grandfathers, that fought and risked their lives during World War II, or bail out on your friends and treat your husband like a piece of crap? At this point, she was shaking. She looked at me watery-eyed and hurried to answer.
He was the new boss in our department. He was open and funny. He made people feel good about themselves. A lot of the women liked him. But when he started to take an interest in me, I felt like he chose me.
What does that mean?
You want honesty, and I need to be honest. When we started talking, he made it clear that he was only interested in me.
I interrupted and said, after a couple of days.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. He had a way to immediately make someone feel happy, and even more than that. I felt great when I saw him looking at me from across the office room. I felt great when he spoke to me saying, "You're the only interesting person here." Like I said, I felt he chose me. I know it's pathetic. I'm pathetic and weak. But you have to understand what it was like. When he first started at the office, he was good-looking, confident, suave, and was just right. He had an aura about him that, when he smiled, I melted.
She continued.
He could have had anyone at the office. All the girls wanted him. They all talked about him constantly. I know it sounds bad, but I never thought he would pick me. I didn't want to be picked initially. I figured it would be a harmless flirt or something, but he made it clear that he wanted more than that, and that was it.
What was it?
Him as being a kind of drug that I couldn't shake off. Again, I know it's pathetic, but you have to believe me. When he talked to me and giving me compliments, I was stunned, but really flattered. My confidence went from 60 to 10,000. I thought to myself, this man could have anyone, but he told me it was me he chose, constantly. That he could tell it was me.
What? I don't get it. It's ridiculous.
He made me feel that I was the one. I was the one that he was meant to be with. I know it's not what you want to hear, but I'm being honest.
Continue, I said.
I can't deny I was attracted to him. It was obvious, but I can only see that now.
Wait, you thought you were hiding it well?
At the time, yes. At the beginning, he flooded me with compliments. Other girls were jealous of me. I got a rush from it. I liked it. The more I saw of him, the more I wanted.
Wanted?
Wanted to feel like a queen. I know that you treated me so well, I was lucky. But Mike's, at the time, was just another level. I got a buzz from seeing jealous women being envious of me. In my view, I thought to myself, I'm so lucky to have this man.
Bruh.
But the longer I was with him, the more he changed, but I couldn't stop it.
I asked her what she meant.
He was specific in what he wanted. He got to know me, but unconditionally, he got me to do the opposite of what I liked. Those videos and pictures were his idea. And yes, I know his friends and their way of thinking, but I didn't want to challenge him or Mike because I didn't want to upset him. He had a way of saying that, if you can't make me happy, someone else will. He had this, do you know how lucky you are? Attitude. At the time, I panicked. I went to extreme lengths to keep him happy. I wanted to make him happy and nothing else mattered. So at the time, I did anything for him. You obviously know.
I looked at her, disgusted, as I let her open the floodgates of the mental truth.
I know. But as I said, he was a drug that I couldn't shake off. The more I saw him, the more I wanted. He made me believe that you were the bad guy. He made me believe that you were holding me back and that you didn't respect me. I know it's not true.
She was in tears. Again.
But that's why I did everything. Everything he told me to do. Even after he was criticizing you, I couldn't fight back, because I was hooked.
And that makes it okay. To go for it. To cheat on your husband of 7 years. Let's be serious now. Are you mental?
No, I'm not asking for forgiveness. I don't deserve it because I know how I treated you. I was nasty to you, and I will never forgive myself. But I did it. Bail on you, betrayed you, destroyed us. I knew I was hurting you, but I couldn't stop. He kept telling me that I deserved more than you and that I should be treated like a queen. So the more I went out to high-class restaurants, VIP theater shows, the fancy jewelry, the more I resented you. But each time he did it, he always mentioned you and your failures. So I obviously bought into it, and that's why I was cold towards you. I thought you failed me and he didn't. I know it's not true, but during that time he was influential, and I believed everything he said. It was only when I saw the papers and ring that something clicked in me. I know you don't believe me, but I'm finished with Mike straight away. I know I don't deserve credit for it, but I really am ashamed of what happened. I can't imagine what it was like for you. I know I neglected you, made you feel worthless, but I couldn't see it before. I did after I saw the papers. I'm ashamed that I took this vile man over you.
I looked at her. I didn't expect her answers, but she seemed sincere enough to believe I got the truth. I replied, aside from your affair, you know what the problem is? That at the beginning, you wanted the affair because you said he chose you. You said he was a drug, but millions of people get themselves out of this addiction. They realize that they have problems and get help. You didn't. You weakly gave into belly tingles and carried on. You can't compare this to people who have real addictions. You're just weak, without shame. The only reason you are here is because I am your safety net, and now it's gone. There is no way you can say you love me and do what you did. God. I see her refusing what I'm saying. I tell her it's the truth. For 11 months, you made me feel worthless. As you know, I was overeating, becoming more reclusive, and losing myself. All the while, you were going out every night, going to the gym, buying new clothes, being a different person. You came home and looked at me with disgust. During that time, you didn't let me touch you or anything. You didn't give me anything but mistreatment.
Mistreatment?
Yes, you must be mental if you can't see it. Maybe you didn't think you were doing it, but damn, you did it. My best friend and soulmate made me hate myself. She's in tears again. It got that bad that I was thinking of. I didn't say it, but you get the picture. At this point, she is crying heavily and apologizing so much so. It's like in her spammy mails. So I forgot we were at the beachfront. People were watching, and I had to tell her to breathe. She got her composure back and kept pleading. It was him feeding her the toxic thoughts against me. I did have one last question to fire. Do you love him?
No, I don't. I know that you won't believe me, but I actually hate him as much as I hate myself.
After a few hours of talking, she left, saying everything was true. I was the love of her life, etc. I sat by the beach, thinking about the possibility of her being groomed, conditioned, etc. I mean, it makes sense from her mental perspective. After she met him, she changed, like totally changed. There was a reason why my therapist wanted to ask that question, although she can't diagnose Mike, but she thinks he has sociopathic tendencies, hence why he asked about our marriage. She said,
"It's clear that he had an agenda asking about your marriage to your wife so early. The signs are there. He did choose your wife. He knew that you were happily married and solid. So he had his challenge. The challenge was simply to break up and ruin lives, as sociopathic people do. Mike would never have been with a single girl because there was no challenge. But with your wife, it wasn't just her he was controlling, but you as well. Also her friends and family. He turned her into everything your wife is against and makes sure she did. He turned you, through your wife, into a depressed loner. That's why you never confronted her after the texts and videos. You didn't have the evidence at all. That's what he and your wife did. He pulled the strings, but your wife willingly played along. Sociopaths like to manipulate and control the narrative. When you followed your wife to the parking lot, he probably knew you would follow your wife. If you confronted them there, most likely your wife would take his side there and then. Thus, he would have won. People who have sociopathic tendencies have no empathy. They are driven by seeing others suffer by their hand.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not offering forgiveness here. But it goes through my mind. Could there be some truth to that? My wife, a victim of a sociopath. It fits. But honestly, I really don't care. Well, part of me cares for the time and memories we had. Who was this guy? I kept telling myself, I never saw one man simply come in with such authority and ruin people's lives like a wrecking ball. But deep down, I took the bitter truth. He was the package. He was a boss making decent money. He was 30 but looked 21. Great physique with the overinflated confidence. That would make women turn, right? But maybe my soon-to-be ex was right in that she finished with him that day I left. Because after I left, my neighbor said to me that Mike kept coming around to my house, demanding to talk to Kelly. He apparently did this a number of times, as my wife said when we met. He was acting like a physically dangerous husband. My therapist said sociopaths cannot accept rejection, especially when they don't have control. My wife dumped him, and he became erratic. Why? My therapist said it's simple. She told me my wife chose me over him. Lucky me. I don't want her. She's for the streets now. He manipulated her for under a year, and she had the strength to finish it in the end. I savor knowing he got dumped, as that undoubtedly derailed his plans. But it isn't over. I contacted HR about my wife and him. Turns out other people contacted HR as well. It seems that the affair news is spreading. He left shortly after me and my wife spoke. I don't know where the parasite went. I don't care. My wife also left before she was pushed out. Apparently, people are not too happy with her and her behavior, not just on the job, especially her parents. She is staying with her parents and relocating. She is getting help from a psychologist, though, which she definitely needs. I still speak to her family and our shared friends. They try to say that I should meet Kelly again, but that's not happening. Don't be ridiculous. I gave her too much already by emptying her dirty truth. She needs to concentrate on herself getting better. Her family said that Mike did a huge number on her. I don't know what that means. So for me, the divorce will be finalized in a few weeks. I know some people said she won't sign after the meeting, but I had to go nonetheless. I could have went super ghosting for dramatic effect, but I wanted answers. I had to know why she did it. I had to know. Do I feel better after? In a way, yes. My wife was as honest as she could be, I think. The pattern of the affair makes sense. My future ex asked if there is a chance of reconciliation, eventually. I have to admit, I only gave it a thought for amusement reasons. Even if she is a victim of a master manipulator, a toxic sociopath, how can I trust her? If I took her back, all I would be thinking about is him and how I cannot measure up compared to him in her eyes. I would feel second best no matter what. She would assure me that it's not the case, that I have always been her soulmate. Even after she would say it, my life with her wouldn't be the same. I suppose the moral of the story is that cheating is obviously wrong. It affects and damages the partners more so. Cheaters are truly selfish. They only own up if they're caught or find divorce papers on the kitchen desk. I certainly won't marry again. The damage of the affair has hurt me deeply. I still feel inadequate about myself, that I'm not good enough. Although I have been going to the gym again, hiking and camping with friends. I've been trying to stay active, trying to move on, but I have to give into some form of hatred. I can't be all stoic here. I hate Kelly for easily falling for him and justifying it, and him for taking my wife. Why did it have to be her? I kept telling myself. But these questions I asked myself were pointless because it's done now. The damage has been done, and it still hurts. I still have my job, and moving to the outskirts of the town is good. I'm not one of those people who move thousands of miles away, although I get it when a betrayed spouse does. But my work and social circle have been good to me, and I don't want to lose it. If I relocate completely, then I feel they've won, and I refuse to be a victim. My therapist said that it will take time to heal. Just be patient. Well, that's it. There isn't much to update more, so this will probably be my last post. I want to thank everyone who posted on the last part. All your comments I took on board and fully appreciate it. Thank you.
You, sir, you are the ultimate alpha. It's not about going all nuclear, but biting your tongue at the right time. The way you handled the situation was just flawless. Also, what an amazing therapist you have. Keep her and keep on healing. I'm sure you will.
While I believe that her manipulation and conditioning played a role in what she did, it still doesn't change that she made a decision to cheat on you, all the way on the first Friday with the creep. At that time, she wasn't manipulated or conditioned. Those things take lots of time, even more as she has been a loving and caring wife before. No, she wanted this to happen and made a decision, not to break up with you, but to cheat on you. Early on, she made the decision that this guy is more important to her than you are, which finally set her up to get conditioned by him. That he was even able to condition her was only based on her own decision, because she wanted him. The humiliation and mistreatment you experience afterward from her might have come from her being manipulated, but the first decision to cheat on you only happened because she made a conscious decision to do so. I applaud you for being able to meet with her and to even listen to all the toxicity she puked over you. I don't think many could have done that. Stick to your decision, divorce from her, and after that, never see her again. If there was ever a case where the damage done was just too much to be repaired, then it is here. Take your time, focus on your healing, and be proud of yourself for getting yourself out of that dark place. That is what I want you to take away from all this, for yourself. In a time of great hurt, when the person you cherished the most betrayed you. On such a deep level, you stood up for yourself and did what you had to do, to get out of there. And in your case, you even did it with your dignity intact. You are worth so much more than to be treated this way.
Before we conclude this story, it came to my attention that there are many YouTubers that re-upload my content by simply putting another background into their episode.
Oh my God!
If you hear this audio anywhere else than on Royal A.I, it means they stole it. Be sure to watch Royal A.I if you like this type of content.
That brings us to the end of this Reddit story. There has never been an update after. Would you have given Kelly a stage to confess? Or would you have been done with her sooner? It's weird to me to hear. I thought it would be harmless flirting, and it felt like an honor to be chosen by him in the same thought process. What do you make of this? Let us know what you think. Would you like to see more like this, or are you into other types of stories? If you have a good story you're willing to share, email it to contactroyalai@gmail.com. I might cover your story. Thank you for staying till the end. You're the one I make these episodes for. Don't forget to smack the like button into oblivion. See you in the next one.